Coming up next in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 common myths in the fragrance community that I think need to be addressed and that will help you on your fragrance journey. So stay tuned to find out what those 3 myths are and what the real truth is. Welcome back everybody to Joel the Nose. And as you can see, I am still in LA, enjoying myself, having a great time. But today's topic, let's get right into this. I wanted to address 3 common myths in the fragrance world that is just information that seems to get passed around. Think about our world today, right? With social media and news outlets and fake news and everything that gets passed around. And often we get deluged with information and we don't know what's right, what's real, what's not, what's true. And you know, that's just part of human nature, right? So I think as a reviewer in this community, I have an obligation to try to ferret out the truth and try to get to, cut through some of the things that are not accurate, especially as my background as an attorney. That's what I do, right? My job is I literally have to dig in. An attorney, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got is an attorney is really like an investigator, like a detective. When I get a case, I have to dig in like a detective would and get to the very, very bottom of it, the truth, and get through all the facts and look at it objectively. So having said that, let's get into this. 3 common myths. And the first one that I want to talk about is that brand name fragrances are better than lesser known fragrances. And I think obviously this is true in many fields, areas of fashion, merchandising, products, whatever, right? You think about Chanel, Dior, great brands, great fragrances. I'm not knocking them. But I think that what people don't often realize in the fragrance world, which actually makes it different from a lot of other, I guess, areas of fashion or products, is that typically the fragrance brand is not making themselves. For example, Tom Ford, great brand, right? Great fragrances. Everyone loves their private label, or a lot of people do. Very popular. Chanel, Dior. Some of them do have their own in-house perfumer, like Chanel, Dior. But they're not the ones typically making all the fragrances, especially for a lot of the bigger brands, okay? Whether it be a department store brand, a fashion house brand, whatever it is. What they do is they go out and they maybe have an idea, right? So they have an idea of a fragrance that they want, and then they go out and they hire a perfumer that works typically for one of the big fragrance and kind of like fragrance and flavor companies that are out there. You've probably heard of them, like there's IFF, International Flavors and Fragrances, there's Firmenich, there's Givaudan. These are huge multi-billion-dollar conglomerate companies that produce everything from fragrances that you would wear to food additives. And so these perfumers typically, after they train to be a perfumer, right, wherever they train, they go to work for one of these companies. And so if I am say a person that wants to create a fragrance, whether it be a big major brand like Tom Ford or whatever, they're going to go to Firmenich, or they're going to go to a perfumer maybe they want to work with that works for one of those companies, and then they negotiate. So actually the brand Firmenich or IFF, they actually negotiate the contract. Say for example, if they were going to do something with Tom Ford, and you pick their perfumer, but it's all negotiated, it's all controlled by the company. They control the prices of the materials, the notes that you're going to use, everything, right? So that's why I want to say you can get smaller companies that can get perfumers. And by the way, there's also independent perfumers like Cecile Zarokian, who's one of the really star perfumers out there right now. She doesn't work for any of the major companies. She's independent. And so she goes on her own and works for different companies. But most of the perfumers are going to work for one of those big companies. And therefore, anybody can use them. So if I'm a small independent, say, fashion house that wants to create a fragrance, I can go to any of those companies or any of these independent perfumers like Cecile and create my own fragrance. So that's one of the things I wanted to kind of enlighten if you're not sure how that works with perfumers. Secondly, second myth. I've talked about this in a full video before, so I'm just going to mention this more quickly, and that is that fragrances are only meant to be used for occasions, seasons, or whatever. I've been very adamant about this, is wear what you want when you want. I think that's an old myth that is there more for marketing, because think about it. If you can market a different fragrance for summer, spring, fall, winter, you make more money if you're a fragrance company. Or if you market something for the office or for a date or, you know, for whatever it may be, special occasions, you know, formal occasions, you know, summer, all that stuff. It's more of a marketing ploy. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I've already done a full video on it, but I live in Miami. It's 80 degrees, average temperature all year round. If I listened to the quote fragrance experts, I would never be able to wear cold weather fragrances because it's basically never cold in Miami. I wear what I want when I want, and it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It's what you feel comfortable with. It's what you like. Wear what you want. Don't listen to those rules about having to wear for seasons and whatever. It's again, it's marketing and it's to create YouTube videos. All right. Third, and this is one that, again, I think is a big common myth, is that, quote, natural materials, natural fragrance materials are better than synthetic materials. This is, I would say, 100% not true. Every major perfumer, fragrance company in the world uses synthetic materials and natural materials. Some synthetic materials are actually just as expensive, and this is a kind of another myth, as natural materials, because it is taken so long and so much science and research and development to create that specific note that there's a lot of money behind it, so it costs more to produce it and to sell it. So obviously there's natural materials. Think about really natural oud or iris or orris butter, which are extremely hard to extract and time consuming, and that's why the prices are so high, you know, per kilogram. But you go look at any fragrance, I guess, or perfume, and it's going to have a good mix of both because they can complement each other, the natural and the synthetic. And here's another, again, myth within this little category. Some people think, oh, I can't wear synthetic perfumes, or they smell something like it's synthetic and I'm allergic to it. Actually, that's a complete myth. Okay, the reason why is if you look at the chemistry of fragrance materials, for example, a rose, if you go take a Bulgarian rose, that is made up of hundreds or maybe even thousands of elements that make up that smell that you're smelling, versus someone who creates Bulgarian rose in a lab, that is one material, that is actually one element. So the odds are that you're allergic to that one specific element versus maybe the hundreds that are in the actual natural Bulgarian rose. Think about that. So there's a much greater chance that you're going to be allergic to natural elements than synthetic. My point being is they're both wonderful. I love them both. I tend to, obviously, you know, I think in marketing, if you look at it and you look at actually scientific studies, there's been psychological studies that people, when they hear natural versus synthetic, they immediately think natural is better. My point being, it's not the case, because actually when they've done blind studies then, so when they ask people what they think is better, people always say natural. But then when they actually have them smell them and tell them, people cannot tell the difference. So it's you know, it's one of those things, again, it's perception often becomes reality. And all I'm saying is just blow that myth away. Enjoy the fragrance, whether it's synthetic or natural or a combination of both. So there you have it, 3 common myths that I wanted to address in the community. Thank you guys for watching, and I will be back soon with another video. Thank you all. Peace and love.